Rumble is still available. Yunara Lulu, Ashe Seraphine, plenty of directions you can go here.
A really interesting ban approach from NIP here. Not really your standard bans from even the blue side here. Not any of the top bans, really, that you generally see people use against JDG. They are frequently drawing, stuff like the Rise, the Vi, the Nocturne. Not been the case in this draft, and they are just going to snap up that Nocturne nice and early here for Guwon.
I mean, they want something that can play towards this win condition of level 6. This is very consistent for NIP. Like, the moment that they hit these power spikes, they want to go for them as quickly as possible. Ashe Seraphine would be the very obvious answer here from JDG. Yes. This is a super strong bot lane 2v2 that can put you in a position where we talked about Gala and Vampire, needing to be in a spot where they can play on their own into this matchup. Ashe Seraphine will do that into basically anything that you're looking at, especially if you don't pick your bot lane here on first rotation. We'll see if they just want to go for topside. I wouldn't be shocked to see something like Rumble, maybe even Aurora come in here for NIP. Ahri, I think, is also a potential option to pair up with the Nocturne. It's been Kair's most played champion across this split, but it's definitely going to be something aggressive that can dive alongside that jungle.
Yeah, I wonder if they just blind something like support here and trust that they have enough picks in the back pocket to be able to go back to marksman later. They've played stuff like the Tristana, again, a unique pick to NIP that nobody else is really doing. They're just going to save the whole darn bot lane to the second rotation and say, hey, you know what, we've got enough different stuff that we're willing to play in Ashe Seraphine, and we see an opportunity here to just get a really powerful top triangle, and that's what they're going to take for themselves as Kair locks in his most played of the season in the Ahri. They get the Rumble. It's already so powerful, and of course, Guwon on that Nocturne.
This is exactly what I was talking about. This is your dive buddy for Nocturne. I think if you're going to first pick something like that, you need an assassin of some sort that can access the backline. I like Akali, I like Aurora, Ahri fits the bill as well, and clearly Kair is a little bit more confident in that regard. The question is, how much do you want to try to neutralize that mid lane? Do you feel it's important enough to try and take out that middle of the map with a good matchup? It looks like they want to prioritize topside pressure. Now, this is a flex pick for both JunJia and Xiaoxu. And Bessa obviously very good in both of those roles. I would imagine this is going top lane. I don't believe JunJia has an Mbessa game across this split up until this point. And it does look like it's Xiaoxu's most played, so you would imagine this is the answer to something like Rumble on the top side, much more volatile than picking a tank, which is kind of the normal answer, like Sion or Ornn or Cassante into Rumble, but definitely giving this top lane a little bit more volatility, which I like.
Yeah. Let's theorycraft some bot lane matchups for Assum and Zhuo. What are they going to play into the Ashe Seraphine? I think a lot of Nautilus duos, especially with the Lulu band away, are the things that come to mind. Folks have been playing MF Nautilus. This team has been playing Jhin Nautilus. I'm not going to lie to you, okay, man? It's not what I want to see, and it's not what we're going to see, because the Nautilus is going to eat the ban. But still, there's other options they can go for here. Maybe something with the Alistar, maybe something with the Nico.
I think the obvious one to me is Corki Nami. That's still available. Corki Bard as well. I think could also be very playable for this team to open up the map. Zhuo doesn't have a Bard game this split, but he has played it a lot in the past. So if you do want to open up the map, I think Corki makes a lot of sense as that AD carry that can be relatively safe in the laning phase, still has a bit of combat power, scales well, doesn't need a ton of pressure, so you can play for that Nocturne and that Ahri. They could also lean really heavily into the dive and go for something like Kai'Sa as well that we've seen really come back into the meta. I don't think Kai'Sa is particularly strong right now, but it's definitely still an option. And speaking of champions that don't normally make it to the second phase of draft, Ryze is still available as a potential pick here into Ahri.
One of the most banned champions against JD Gaming, and NIP just led it through both phases of bans here. I mean, clearly some very strong power picks going for JDG. I think this is the kind of draft you would draw up for them with no bans on the table. So the fact that NIP have given all of this over, they must have something up their sleeve, and it's Jhin. Jhin is up their sleeve. They're going to go for the Jhin Karma duo.
Assum has been one of the better Jhin players. You highlighted this. He's found a couple of wins on it. Also worth noting that one of those losses was a game I got to cast where he was 6-0, I think at like 15 minutes into the game, and the team just couldn't play around him in the way that they needed to. So if you are going to play topside and if you want to play more for this Nocturne dive, I do like the ability for Jhin to just say, hey, I'm good. I can play very safe in the early laning phase. Ashe Seraphine can't punish the Jhin really at all in the early laning phase, and you have that utility going into the late game to let Rumble be a little bit more of a focal point, playing for Hoya on the top side, but it's going to be the Trundle as the answer here for JDG. There is some concern about the lack of engage coming out of the jungle. That's always going to be the question when you don't take a Vi or a Xin Zhao or something like that. But with the Ashe Arrow, with Ryze Realm Warp, with Mbessa Ultimate, you have plenty of ways to get on the backline. And overall, I think both of these comps have the ability to win the game if they can get some early pressure, but that's going to be pretty relevant for both of them.
Yeah, early pressure going to be a huge, huge difference maker here. It's a little surprising to see the Trundle come through against a team with no tank, but it is a strong brawl one-on-one up against the Nocturne, and does have that early power spike that is critical for both these teams, like you bring on up. All in all, in a game where a lot of the standard power picks kind of slipped through the picks and bans, it really feels like JDG got the better end of things on paper.
I think on paper they got the stronger champions. The question is, can they survive some of these matchups that I think could be a little bit more difficult? I generally think that you're going to be looking at a bot lane where Jin's going to feel very comfortable. Karma actually gives you a bit of an edge in that matchup. Karma's really strong in the 2v2 and very difficult to deal with right now. I do think the worry for NIP is the late game. You're not going to have the same kind of damage going into the later part of the game if this Nocturne Ahri duo is not super far ahead, but mid game's really relevant for them, and Rumble needs to have gold. You're right with JDG, though. Just the sheer power of the picks. I mean, Ryze, Ashe, Seraphine, these are some of the best champions in the meta, and they're very comfortable on it. It's definitely looking like it's going to be a little bit easier for them, but I don't think draft points to one team having a massive lead over the other in the same way we've seen with some other series.
Yeah, and again, listen, I'm trying to avoid just talking about testing NIP. Like you said, we're getting to the point they shouldn't be underrated, but a big test for them to have to play this kind of lane, save it to later picks, up against one of the premier bot lanes in the meta.
You love to see both teams getting so much excitement and rep. You wouldn't have expected a matchup like this to be bringing so much excitement at the beginning of the year, but we absolutely are there for both JDG and Ninjas in Pyjamas. Definitely going to be looking at this bot lane. If summoners are blown early, I think that's definitely going to be in favor of NIP. We typically see that trade going on between these two. The question is, what happens with this Nocturne? Both junglers starting topside.
Definitely. And that means the bot lane is going to be a point of focus. As I was saying before we paused for Zhuo's, NIP saving their bot lane to the bottom two picks, tanking a lot of bans in that area, giving up Ashe Seraphine. They're placing a bet on Assum and Zhuo being able to play up against Ashe Seraphine from Gala and Vampire and be able to come on out ahead, even though they don't get the draft resources.
Yeah, I mean, this Karma's just so good in the 2v2.
It is. I mean, it's hard to say
that way.
Yeah, hard to say Karma's not a good pick, but yeah. It's not the premier Karma duo, right?
Yes, I would definitely agree with that. I think, you know, with the Jhin, you're looking to try and get as big of a lead as you can pre-level 4, level 5, and then once those Grubs start spawning, you want that Karma to be moving around and playing more so with the Nocturne to try to get those plays unlocked, and Ahri in the mid lane can start moving as well. It's a pretty clear identity for Ninjas in Pyjamas, and this is exactly what they've done throughout the entire split up until this point, is have very clear, very concise ideas of exactly what they want to do with their pressure in the early game. They've been very good at executing it before. We'll see if JDG can throw a wrench into it here.
Nice shot there, and a well-placed grenade. They've really chunked out Gala and Vampire here just a couple of levels in, and I think they're in a good position to be able to interrupt a recall here as well. Oh, the guess is incorrect from Assum, but still, early recall forced out of Vampire here. Not a bad start for the NIP duo. Meanwhile, HongQ shoving in Care here as well, who is having himself a pretty easy time farming underneath that turret.
Yeah, I mean, this is, to me, how this matchup should be going. It's really difficult for Ashe Seraphine to play early levels against Karma at all. And Jhin, for as much, you know, crap as we give Jhin as a champion, still has a lot of ways to be able to punish champions that don't have a lot of raw damage output in the early part of the game. And we're seeing that pretty consistently. Looks like it is just going to be a pretty passive early game. Both junglers just full clearing into the crab. Not really anything crazy. That definitely benefits both of them in the sense that they both want to hit level 6 as quickly as possible. But the Trundle could be looking to potentially target Hoya on the top side.
Yeah, JunJia hanging out in this tri-brush here. Hoya throws down the ward, but it is too little too late to spot out JunJia. Here he comes. Hoya probably going to have to flash here, waiting for the pillar to come out. It does, and Hoya will expend that summoner spell to get on out. Successful gank for JunJia.
Completely free flash on the top side to get from this Rumble. That is a very positive trade overall for JunJia here, and those are the kinds of early plays that you're exactly looking for. As JDG, you need to start burning resources.
Whoa, Hoya!
Xiaoxu?
He's looking for the solo kill, burning down on the Ignite, and we didn't even get to talk about this, Kman, but Hoya, the Ignite Rumble, been another tech of his on the season so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly the point. I didn't even recognize that he had Ignite in this game, and that really comes into play there. That is a very dangerous situation for Xiaoxu. Luckily, he's going to avoid that without burning his flash. That could have been an absolute nightmare for him, but again, overall, it's not too bad, all things considered, for the Mbessa. We'll just be able to catch the wave. Both of them will be able to back. The gold is basically completely neutral, and Assum could be in danger.
Yeah, heal coming through. Going to keep Assum at that safe distance as he's built up quite the CS lead here so far. Really utilizing the laning power of the Jin Karma. Both junglers moving down towards this, not Crab. Crab hasn't respawned yet, but it will be spawning here. And for Crab number 2, that's going to be the level 6 Crab. And does look like Assum and Zhuo doing a good job of wrestling control of that bottom lane. Very well could be given on over to Guwon here, who did not spend that time to be able to gank topside. Doesn't look like he's gotten himself too big of an advantage for it, though. Still wants to recall for that tunneler.
Yeah, both junglers going to be recalling, getting their, first buys, and then running towards that Crab you mentioned. It's level 6 for both of them, and when you think about the power spike of both Trundle and Nocturne at level 6, this is very consequential. See if Guwon is actually going to be able to pressure that out, as Nocturne can be pretty scary to walk up in a circumstance like this. The big positive right now is that Care, at the very least is pushed under tower, so that Ahri's not going to have as easy of a time roaming as the Rise. But bot lane is actually the target here, potentially.
Yeah, I gotta watch out. A level lead for Assum and Zhuo. Now going to be equalized as Gala is able to take up to level 5. Vampire gets much the same. But earliest move is for Guwon, and Zhuo and Assum going to move in, try to push JunJia out here. You got to be careful, because once this Nocturne hits 6, he could just pull the trigger on you with that level lead. Actually doesn't tick 6 for Guwon. I didn't see exactly how that's the case, but now he gets it. Never mind. It was just a little delayed on the scoreboard.
Yeah, it's sometimes a little weird. With that Realm Warp topside, though?
Hoya on the wrong side of the map. I think this guy is cooked. The question is just what he can accomplish until he goes down. Going to be able to throw down that equalizer, try to torch the wave, prevent how much push can really come through for this. As he, of course, will not have the TP. He's Ignite Rumble.
I actually love giving that kill to Xiaoxu as well from HongQ. He's already in an okay spot in his laning phase, which means he wants to try to rescue this Mbessa as much as possible. Gets to catch this wave under tower basically for free, and that is the power of Rise. That's why I'm so shocked that we let this thing go into second rotation, is you basically get a free kill somewhere on the map around this timer at level 6. So well played by HongQ, well played by JDG, and an overextension that was punished into Hoya.
Definitely. Really looking to be aggressive on the Rumble, of course. Got to see the combat power earlier on. Does get bitten for it that time around. Once again, this Nocturne clearing top to bottom. Want to be on the lookout for this first cast of Paranoia. Always so important to get that Nocturne rolling early on, making sure he is going to be impactful. The cooldown is so long, but the impact can be so significant. Here it comes in the bottom lane. Flashed back away. Fear coming on through, but have they created enough distance? Deadly Flourish going to snare up Vampire, but it's just not enough. They get about half of Vampire's health bar. They get Gala and Vampire's Flash, but they will not pick up any kills.
I mean, it is both flashes, but that is a huge fight tool that's kind of necessary to contest over this dragon if they really want to do it. We'll see how aggressive NIP want to be here. Level 6, of course, for Assum. He has that ult available. Arrow's going to go wide.
Very nice job by Zhuo to dodge out on that one, returning heavy damage on a Vampire, but the fire from Gala is enough to force a flash out of Zhuo. Thankfully for him, he didn't flash the arrow earlier on. Still, pressure advantage to JDG. JunJia smells blood in the water after seeing that Paranoia come and go, and he's going to start up Dragon number 1.
Yeah, Assum and Zhuo basically had to go for that play in order to try and contest the dragon. If you don't chunk out the bot lane, there's no way Nocturne can get in without that ultimate. So, fortunately, it goes awry. They don't end up giving over any kills. They do have to burn the flash, but Xiaoxu, in a little bit of danger, should be fine here on the top side. Just a little bit of trade of ultimates. That kill certainly not going towards enough combat power right now. This would be a difficult dive, but he could go for it.
Wow, he's still firing harpoons under this turret, not even cracking the crystalline overgrowth here yet. Now he'll pick it up. Just trying to cover for Guwon here as well, who is trying to make the cross-map trade on that Lost Dragon. Looks like he should be able to get himself at least 2 grubs. We'll see if anybody arrives to challenge. And actually, a little bit concerned about JunJia's impending arrival. We'll stop at just 1 grub.
think that's kind of interesting, because I am a little bit worried about giving any resources right now over to this Trundle. Again, I understand the concern.
Oh, never mind. He got
has ultimate available, and Ryze can really show up anywhere, and you don't really have pressure on the map right now, but trading 2 for 1 is okay, all things considered. I just, these are the kinds of aggressive plays that NIP has been willing to try and make throughout this year that have not really been punished, and this is one where I think they are playing a little bit more passive, playing a little bit more scared. The question is, where do they actually want to try and start winning? Top lane's been fine for them, but it's not a matchup that's necessarily going to get easier, especially with Xiaoxu having a small level lead here. As he's going to dodge out of the hard
waiting there, gets hit by the public execution. Xiaoxu going to look for him, although here comes Paranoia number 2. Hoya already forced to flash away, fell pretty low. Does Guwon have the damage to close? Harpoon going to slow him up. Guwon backing away, knows that HongQ's en route. HongQ picks up the kill onto Hoya. TP being channeled by Care, but it's too little too late. JD Gaming get themselves a second kill.
I don't want to overreact, Gordo, but man, I don't think it was wise to give over the Ryze in second rotation. I don't think that was the decision that maybe should have been made. That Ryze makes all the difference in that play. It looks like a good collapse from Guwon, but again, HongQ just in the area ends up with a really aggressive ultimate, and picking up that kill in particular just puts him in such a good spot. Care also burns teleport, which means that a lot of these cross-map plays are going to be delayed considerably. HongQ going to have that ability to move around much quicker than Care will on the teleport, so overall, good stuff. Really, really good start for JDG, a team that has struggled to be able to make plays early and often. They're out to a pretty nice lead for themselves, and all the gold's in the right spot right now.
Certainly right where you would want it. HongQ and Xiaoxu talked about these solo laners being important for JDG, be able to have the kind of series that they would prefer to have against NIP rather than the 2-0 fashion that they met last time under. And a 1-0 start for both of these guys, definitely right up that alley.
Definitely what you're looking for. Bot lane's made their way mid. Zhuo
comes out, goes nowhere. Charm going to be in a similar category. No engage found by either party. Guwon here to cover. It does look like it's going to continue to be ping-pong in the wave for these mid-support duos.
Yeah, I mean, this is okay. NIP are continuing to look. Charm wide again.
Oh, Chain CC on to Care. Pretty tough for him. Does manage to evade the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Going to have to Spirit Rush out with the last cast out of mana as well. But there's the curtain call from Assum to claim a return onto Vampire.
That is a beautiful play from Ninjas in Pyjamas. That does not look like a good engage, all things considered, but they recognize that they still have so much damage coming in from the Karma that they're able to make this work more often than maybe JDG is expecting. That is a big piece of gold going into the pocket of Assum on this Jhin. He's had the chance to try to take over some of these games on this champion before. Fortunately, this initial engage does go wide. If that charm lands, this is a very positive play, but Care has to be very careful with the way that he ends up playing on the Ahri. Luckily, he gets at least some damage off, and at this point, Zhuo plus the damage from Assum is more than enough. HongQ recognizes he can't block that fourth shot either. He will die as the Ryze, even from a quarter health. So overall, great play from Ninjas in Pyjamas, and that's the kind of play you need to make to get some of that gold back.
Yeah, but you know who wouldn't have died is JunJia on the near full health Trundle. I feel like it's another example of JDG just kind of being on different pages. JunJia could have definitely blocked that.
Yeah, for sure. Especially with the position that he was in. Unfortunately, he was walking away from Vampire as that ult got fired. That was the wrong decision in the first place. By the time I think he recognized that he needed to block it, it was too late. As Vampire could be in a bit of danger here. Looks like it's just going to be fine in the mid lane. Guwon.
Paranoia coming on through. Guwon going to be able to get behind him, fears it back into the team, and picks up the shutdown. NIP equalize the gold, equalize the kill score.
Perfectly layered CC there. The charm lands to make sure that Ryze can't escape the fear from the Nocturne. That's exactly how you want to play that gank, and it's more gold going into the pocket of NIP. The plays that they've made over the last 5 minutes have been hugely positive. Dragon spawning in 10 seconds, 5 seconds now. This is absolutely something that NIP are going to look to take as they want to try and stop that stacking from JDG.
Pushing this wave aggressively. Gala going to tank a Deadly Flourish and lose a chunk of HP for that one. JunJia not out of the woods, though. Wants to be able to come in here and contest on this Dragon, despite the fact that HongQ is down. He's showing back up with the Realm Warp before too long. Enchanted Crystal Arrow comes out, connects onto Care. Encore going to follow up. JunJia ready to chomp down, and Gala will pick up the kill. Ahri down means that NIP are forced to retreat, and JDG take the lead right back and have control over Dragon number 2.
That is the problem with using resources on a mid lane play. I'm not saying that it was wrong to do so, but makes it much more difficult to try and make something happen around the dragon. They get punished for checking too aggressively. A lot of area control coming in from JDG, the arrow landing, and of course, you know, Seraphine with the perfect follow-up. That second dragon for JDG, that's going to be a win condition for them moving forward. A 1.2k gold lead, so much of that is going to be on the solo laners. We highlighted Xiaoxu and especially HongQ in the pre-show as he hits level 11, gets that Roa done, starts stacking up that tier. This Rise is going to be a massive win condition for this team as they're going to continue to get these fights around neutral objectives.
Yeah, really great start for JDG up against a team comp that we said needed to get ahead early. Zhuo, a little caught here by HongQ, waiting in the wings. Does get the flash out. Will he be able to run this one out? Dodging out on some of these overloads. Dodges out on the beat drops, and now Paranoia thrown down. Guwon going to try to stand and fight. Will he go for the recast? Yes, he does.
Hoya
dives onto JunJia. They're trying to focus on a HongQ. Hoya coming in on the flank. Melts through Vampire in a second, and Curtain Call will execute HongQ as he trades for the jungler, but Xiaoxu arrives to the scene. Drakehound step to dance through the team fight. Public execution forward onto Hoya. He flashes back over the wall. JunJia going to chase him down, as is Gala. Care going to get involved as well. Takes out Gala in the trade. Assum left out with 2 melees right in his face for a double kill to JunJia as JD Gaming take the fight 4 for 3.
A chaotic exchange between these two teams that leads to a big win for JDG. They get the Herald off of that play, and they get even more gold into the pocket of their carries. That Hoya teleport looks like it's going to change everything throughout this fight. It's a great pick on Zhuo at the first exchange, and it just looks like this is going to be a free get for JDG that NIP really have nothing to be able to answer with, but Zhuo does a fantastic job of dodging out of the way of most of the damage coming in. Guwon pops the ultimate, and at this point, I think JDG realize that they're in a bit of trouble. That teleport is coming in on the flank, and Care is also here with the Ahri. This rumble damage is very, very real. Vampire dies basically instantly, but it's that second teleport that makes the big difference. Xiaoxu makes his way into this fight, and he was enabled in this early game. This Ambessa is basically unstoppable. The ult lands. Hoya is gone. Assum has to play so scared because of the Ambessa as well. The flash comes through, and there's just no combat power. Xiaoxu being so fed makes a big difference in this fight, and that could be the thing that really gets JDG across the finish line as they look for Care on the bot side.
Oh, well, you can't say this series is going to be boring, Kman. His action is non-stop. JunJia coming in towards Care will force out that ultimate in order to escape, and the Rift Herald in towards the bot turret will give first turret gold over to the likes of JDG. Hoya trying to trade cross-map here, but that Herald is not done yet. You can see a charge from Xiaoxu on the mini-map to get a bunch more plates. They're going to cast Paranoia on him, though. They want to try to punish this Ambessa for an over-aggressive Herald charge. Public Execution comes out, gets blocked away by the Spell Shield. JunJia returning heavy damage, though, and Xiaoxu is just walking away. They ran out of damage. Curtain Call opened up. One shot going to connect. Now JunJia might find himself as the target. Charm connects there. Deadly Flourish to follow. Chain CC is enough for the kill. That goes over to Guwon, and it wasn't the target they initially looked for, but they do get their pick.
I mean, they do get some gold back in their pocket. It was good to make a play. It's unfortunate you're not able to take down Xiaoxu. He's not only the big bounty right now on the map, the big gold lead that you would have gotten, but also just taking away that side lane pressure and getting into a better spot there could be really valuable. It forces JunJia to stay on the bot side. Still, any gold right now is good gold. You will take anything you can get on the map, and the kills are pretty evenly distributed. Hoya's still going to be relevant as he finishes this Leandries on the top side of the map. There are plenty of ways back into this game for Ninjas in Pyjamas. I just think it's going to get a little bit more difficult from here on out. The question is, can you find those picks because they need to keep coming?
Yeah, a little bit more non-committal engage, a little bit more ability to fish, a little bit more consistent DPS coming out of the likes of the JDG lineup. Definitely need to find the right moments for NIP, and some of that's going to require setup, some of that's going to require perhaps some mispositioning from JDG. Feels more reliable to be in the JDG position, and not just because of the 1.5k gold lead.
Absolutely. If I'm looking at a side lane like Trundle, Rise, Ambessa to be able to create all this pressure, I definitely feel good. Gala has to be very careful. Again, this is the kind of comp that Ninjas in Pyjamas drafted for themselves. They want to look for these vision plays where they can find themselves, you know, maybe a little bit out of the realm of knowledge and see if they can get onto that immobile Ashe. Fortunately for them, Gala doing a good job to stay relatively stable, but we'll see how long that lasts. Gala can never really resist the temptation of minions in the mid lane.
They're tempting. Look at him there. Just handing over some gold to the Ash, who, by the way, has basically caught up to Assum off the back of these last couple of fights. There was a period of this game where Assum was up pretty close to 1K gold individually from some of those early exchanges, but that is no longer the case. Gala scaled up here. Both players on that Storm Razor early, and going to just be looking to be able to enable some of the damage coming out of the rest of this team. This is a high damage team comp from JDG, and Gala happy to play a little bit more supportive of a role here, going for the attack speed and those additional kind of beefy blows from the Storm Razor to help out.
I mean, we talk about NIP being a pick comp here. You get hit by an arrow when you're around Mbessa or Ryze or even Seraphine, you're probably just dead. So you also have to be really careful if you're NIP on these pick potentials. Hoya looking for a good angle here. I think NIP have done a great job of keeping vision control around these major objectives in the river. It'd be kind of difficult to do that when you're down 1.5k gold. They've had to sacrifice a bit of side lane pressure to do it, but at least they're trying to keep the map a little bit, bright for them and not quite as dark, which we can see happen a lot of the time when you are behind so much. For now, Dragon is up. This is sole point here for JDG. They have the inside track, and I would be really shocked if there's any contest from NIP.
Yeah, they're probably going to let this one go. This would be the last opportunity to fight before Rod of Ages is complete for HongQ, but that alone does not a power spike make, and Care does not have a second item completed. They will let that one go on through. Sole point to JDG. Not the way NIP would have drawn up this game. Still, like we brought up earlier, some opportunity to be able to win out on these fights if they play them out the way that they want to with their composition. Trying to take control over the top side. Enchanted Chryslerro, that's a whiff.
And that's a tool. I mean, it's something to get out of Gala here. Obviously, you have plenty of other ways to be able to engage, but that is a big pick opportunity that is now gone. HongQ could potentially be targeted here. He's a bit pincered by the team.
Yeah, I mean, they have no idea where Hoya is. He still hasn't shown, thanks to the observers for the JDG vision toggle. They still don't see Hoya. They do not know that he's here. Will there be an opportunity to take advantage of that, though?
Yeah, I mean, when you see the enemy Karma flash over the Baron wall because she's so scared that she sees the enemy team, you probably don't expect that Rumble is on a flank angle, but they could be looking for it again here.
All right, Hoya. Secret Agent Hoya making his appearance. Now we're checking out NIP's vision, see that they don't have an exact idea of where JDG is either. They know that they're in the river, but nothing precise enough to be able to pull the trigger. And now Hoya is seen. Missing ping up towards Hoya as he first shows himself.
Yeah, I feel like Tabe certainly had a word with his team after the last couple of games because this is a very disciplined JDG right now. They're really not making a ton of positioning errors, and that's something that's not been super common for them throughout this split, so definitely good to see out of a JDG team that we just want to see perform at this level more consistently. Really like the way they've been playing the map so far, but Baron is up and available. We'll see how much they even want to try and pressure that out. Mid lane tier 1 is going to fall here. There's absolutely no way you can stop that. Do they want to translate that into Baron pressure, or do they just want to keep pushing on these side lanes? Again, that is where their comp really thrives. You've got Ryze, you've got Mbessa, you've got something like the Trundle, even the Ash Arrow can be a global here. Like, your side lane pressure is just better than NIP's. I would imagine they continue to try to suffocate these split pushes around the map and then use that to get objectives when necessary.
Now, group up from JDG, just trying to maintain control over the river on both sides, and they are on the front foot to be able to do so. Hoya still pushing out that top lane each and every opportunity he gets and disappearing back into the fog. Guwon standing on vision here. You can see he's just trying to find little pockets to sit in, potentially threaten a paranoia, but when he's on clear vision like that, Gala knows it is time to step back under the turret, not look for these minions, let them come to me, even if that does forfeit some control over the river to NIP.
Yeah, again, it's just disciplined play, and JDG recognize, hey, it's our turn now. You've utilized everything. Let's go ahead and step up, clear that vision you set. We have control over this river, and we're not making grand mistakes. Hopefully that's not a caster curse on Gala. He doesn't quite see the team on vision, but this would be a very risky dive. Vampire doing a good job to shadow. Again, should just be relatively easy for JDG to be able to play this out. Guwon's just going to be able to walk away, but there's just nowhere on the map right now for NIP to be able to play. We even have Xiaoxu pushing on the bottom side.
Yeah, I mean, NIP probably going to start to feel
flank
pressure to go
TP.
here, although TP coming in from Xiaoxu. Guwon gets a little bit locked down, will be able to walk back on out. Do you think that was a McHale's from Zhuo? But now what about the incoming Ambessa? Guwon is isolated, stuck in a 1v1 that he cannot win. We'll have to flash out to safety. Deadly Flourish will root him up, but that doesn't accomplish much of anything, and Guwon forced off of the map.
Yeah, jungler was crazy chunked. I was wondering if they were going to go for Baron. It doesn't look like that's going to be the call just yet. Just over a minute on Soul here for JDG. That's likely what they're planning for at the moment. They don't want to make any risky moves before what could be a massive win condition for them. That's the fight that's going to determine the entire game. The gold lead very much in favor of JDG, but if they get that Soul, that's really going to make it difficult. It's Cloud Soul in particular as well, which is just one of the best in the game, especially for this comp. So definitely not something you want to give over as NIP, and that means trying to get as much vision and map pressure as possible before the inevitable massive exchange in about a minute here.
Definitely. I mean, if they could scrape together a tower or something, would definitely be a big relief, especially this mid one that is being a thorn in their side for their ability to really wrest control of the mid wave, but can never step up like that without the proper backup. So we'll just be the ping-ponging waves. We'll be JDG holding on to that bit of control, and that's going to be a big boon for them coming into this critical dragon fight. It's up in 20 seconds, and JDG with control over the river.
Very notable, Assum was able to get Lord Doms on the back, so he is very strong right now on the Jhin. There is an avenue for them to win this fight, but they have to set it up perfect.
Find out where that engage can be found. Hiding in out of vision is Xiaoxu. There's the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. It connects onto Hoya, and he is done for. No fight even started before that Rumble hits the dirt, and JDG are going to turn this into Dragon Soul.
It's a catastrophic mistake from Hoya, just completely disconnected, looking for a flank angle on the Rumble, but on vision, very clearly spotted and taken advantage of, we'll just say, in the way that that fight went down. That is Soul for JDG, and if you were worried about this comp with Ryze and Trundle before, you should be real worried now.
Paranoia coming on out. They're going to look for the fight after the Dragon Soul, but that Subjugate going to be more than enough to keep him alive. Cares into the back line. Can try to find some damage onto Gala, but will not be able to finish him off. And JJ just running through the base. Will be able to pick up one before he drops. HongQ going to get the trade kill onto Care. And that is a massive fight for JDG. They take it 3 for 1. Hoya's still dead. And they'll clean up turrets for it.
Unfortunately, that might have been the best shot that they had. They pull the trigger, they try to capitalize on JDG, at least trying to set up for a play, maybe being a couple of seconds early. Even then, the stats at this point, the wallet diff, it's just too big. Hoya's going to TP to the top side to watch this Baron go down. Technically, Zhuo is here as well. I would be shocked if they move off of this, but they do. They're scared of this Rumble ultimate, so at least they won't be able to get the Baron, but that 5k gold lead is still going to feel pretty juicy for JDG. We just get to see this exchange. They try and engage onto the Trundle at this point to get anything here, but look at the healing coming through from JunJia. There's just no way to be able to play this fight out easily. Vampire with a great ultimate on the Seraphine to stop Care's engage, and at this point, I mean, Trundle is just healing so much. He gets to walk through the tower and try to do as much as possible. HongQ can clean up. And it's a free fight win for JDG. That Soul is basically game-ending for NIP. It's going to be really difficult for them to come back now.
Yeah, I missed that one live, but great play by Vampire to hose Care's desperation angle onto Gala. Frankly, even if they do kill Gala there, she's just running underneath the turret with HongQ to clean up the backline. I don't know that it makes too much of a difference, but very well-played team fight from JD Gaming. So they find themselves up 5k with the Dragon Soul. Truly in a dominant position in this game at number 1. And pretty clean game for them all throughout, not really giving much to NIP.
Now, we highlighted the solo laners a lot. I just want to continue to sing their praises. Both Xiaoxu and HongQ have been excellent in this game. They have massive leads over their opposition, and both of them got those resources early. We were wondering if JDG was going to feel the need to overinvest into bot lane. It's Zhuo who's getting invested in right now.
Yeah, really deep engage from Guwon here. Doesn't have quite as much backup as he might like, but in goes Care, getting the charm, executing JunJia, and I may have spoken a little too soon as they evaporate 3 members of JDG. HongQ stepping forward, up against 4, knows that Xiaoxu is coming in with the TP. Care trying to retreat, Equalizer thrown down, Deadly Flourish gonna get dodged out on. That shutdown gold finally pops up for Care. Flash forced out of Zhuo by that public execution. Xiaoxu has been on point with that ability today, but still a nice 3-for-1 found by NIP to give them a little breathing room.
It's really well done from NIP, but you never feel good about the fact that you have to run away from Rise as 4 members of the enemy team. We'll get a replay of what happened. This looks way too deep from Guwon, but he recognizes that Assum is actually free-hitting on the backline here. He does so much damage to JunJia before this fight basically even starts, and Care is absolutely strong enough to be able to clean up, even on a weaker Ahri. So by the time that, HongQ and, Xiaoxu even arrive to this fight, it's already a little bit done and over. But again, you just never feel good if you are the enemy team and you see a Rise by himself as 4 members and you have to run away. If Zhuo doesn't flash this, they're in a really bad spot, but the Karma is able to get the flash off. You don't have to worry too much about trading another kill. Overall, it's gold into the pocket of NIP, but they're probably going to need a couple of more of those if they want a chance back into this game.
Yeah, and Hoya using that Ignite Rumble to blow up Gala over in the jungle as well, while that fight is playing out for Assum, and Guwon on the other side gives them the full 3. That's not going to stop JDG from starting up this Baron, though. They are recognizing that they are still in a position of control. It is time to start to look for tools to be able to break open the base. TP coming in from Care. Full squad now available for NIP. It's a 5-on-5 for the Baron. Public execution onto Assum, and he's the first one to bite it. A beautiful engage found by JD Gaming onto the perfect target will give them a clean ace over NIP, and that just might be the game, Kman.
It's a rare mistake, a massive one from Assum in that fight, as he's basically frontlining on the Jin. He gets caught by the public execution, and that's going to be the game. The Realm Warp is coming in. The minions are here as well. JDG, we questioned whether or not they were going to have the resolve to do what they could not do in their first series, and at least in game number 1 here, in their rematch against Ninjas in Pyjamas, everything's looking pretty darn good for them.
We liked the draft from the start. We said NIP had to find angles in the laning phase, and they did not. A disciplined game out of JDG, not giving Guwon's Nocturne much of anything, and that will reward them with a win in game number 1 and the lead in this series.
It's huge. I mean, just for morale, to be able to pick up a win at that extent, like to that extent, in such a dominant fashion, that's exactly what JDG needed to show. This is a team that we know can dominate games like this, that should be favorites coming into a matchup like this. But the fact that they did get 2-0'd and really outplayed the last time these two teams played each other, for them to be able to come out here in game number 1, look so calm, cool, collected. The thing I really pushed in that game, they were clinical. They didn't make mistakes. They were playing by the book and they were executing well. That's what I want to see from a JDG team that wants to still be one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, they need to show this many series in a row for me to fully buy in, but they are looking like they are on their better form here tonight. What a great showing, with the ability to play around this Nocturne more than anything, right? Always fading back when he was in a position to be able to punish, doing a great job of utilizing the Rise to be able to set both himself and this Ambessa ahead. The solo lanes fulfilling their job, going right to the game plan that we said JDG needed to look for, given how their bot lane was able to perform in the first series. And so far, it's off to a fantastic start. The only thing to keep in mind, though, Rise Ambessa is not going to be the solo lanes every game. I think that's a bit of a blessing for JDG that I think even they themselves might be surprised that they got.
Rise on counter pick 4 makes me want to tear my hair out. Like, I can't even imagine the thought process going into that in terms of a draft, especially for HongQ. He's one of the best Rise players in the world. We saw that last year on CFO. This is like just his champion and a pick that he loves to go towards. I have no clue how he got this, but he really punished them early. The Ambessa and Xiaoxu likely going to get a lot of attention. We'll see what happens with player of the game. I think I have a good idea of the direction that might be going in, but you cannot discount. We highlighted him early. HongQ is so crucial towards opening up the map specifically for the top side here for JDG. That's exactly what he did on the Rise to get that Ambessa the early lead, and JDG were very good at being able to capitalize once they got that gold in the pocket of their carries.
Yeah, and Xiaoxu landing raw public executions out there constantly. That's going to be difficult on the upcoming patch, by the way. They are looking to nerf that a little bit, but it feels like that's more of like a solo queue kind of thing. Like, people are upset that they don't feel like they know what they got hit by. These guys know what they got hit by. They played against enough Ambessas in their time. But they're just not able to dodge these on foot. They're not able to react, flash them, or at the very least, they're being forced to flash to be able to get away from them. Xiaoxu, really great ultimates throughout this game, constantly making picks on his own, finding engages on his own, and not really needing, the slows of Gala or JunJia to be able to do it.
Yeah, the one thing I really want to point out here on this damage chart is that both of the AD carries were below their solo laners in terms of damage. That's indicative of where the pressure of the game was. They were not fighting bot lane. There was not a lot of, pressure put onto the bottom side from either team. That isolated matchup, that's always going to be in favor of JDG, because Assum is such a win condition for Ninjas in Pyjamas that if you can get a matchup where neither of them are really the most important players on the Rift, you're going to be better in the solo lanes. You're going to be better on the top side. It's a really good game plan from JDG, and I think it's really worth highlighting that them being able to get off a lot of top side pressure without being punished so much, that is the problem with, something like Jhin. Jhin, to me, was not the issue this game. I think a lot of people are naturally going to yell at the Jhin. He did so much damage in the one fight that he was able to play in. The big issue for me, Assum's positioning was not good enough in these team fights. He was frontlining on the Jhin a lot of the time, and that meant that he was dying first. And then also, again, you just really had no answer to the early game pressure. If you're going to go down against this team, you really have no way to get back. So for NIP, it's really about that early game dominance that we're kind of used to them having and that they just didn't have in this game.
Yeah, definitely. That's going to be something to attempt to address in draft number 2. Again, solid matchups drafted here for the likes of NIP. We got to see Hoya on the Ignite Rumble. That's been a big pick for him throughout this year. It's a tech that he doesn't bring in every time he plays the champion, but he brings it in specific matchups where he feels he has the opportunity to be a little bit more dominant. We saw the briefest glimmer of it at the start of the laning phase, but HongQ put a stop to that nonsense very quickly with his ability to roam up and down on the rise, and that's going to bring it back to, I find this ban approach very strange from the likes of NIP, but the thing about Fearless is when you leave all these picks up, now you don't have to ban them for the rest of the series, and maybe you can put yourself into favorable draft positions for the rest of the series.
I guess the cope is that there's no more rise, right? Like you can't even pretend to try and pick that. Obviously, it's a mistake. I think NIP's draft philosophy in Game 1 ended up getting punished pretty heavily. We've seen that typically go the other way this split with JDG, where some of their drafts have been pretty greedy with the way that they want to try and get these picks. They also left Rise up. I mean, through the first rotation, it would have been pretty easy to just match like Nocturne Rise onto the other side and just say, hey, we're going to play entirely for top side and be really aggressive in that regard. And IP didn't want to go for that, and they got pretty heavily punished for it. But you're right, there are still power picks available. I'm looking at the jungle. I mean, we got Trundle versus Nocturne. Xin Zhao, Vi, Jarvan, all of these champs are still up. Like, all of these, like, clear engage threats are still available in a game number 2, and I think that gives even more direction to potentially what we could be looking at. Same thing for a lot of bot lane pressure. So you're certainly not, like, in a position where you're like, oh, well, there's nothing left. Rise is gone. You have plenty of things that you can still draft.
Definitely do. And we'll have to see how both of these teams try to approach the draft in game number 2, because it's going to be very different than what we saw in game number 1, given how many power picks we did see end up getting let through. Jungle matchup going to be interesting, though. Still a lot of the core meta left and available there. And we'll see if Assum continues to eat so many of the bans. There is the Xiaoxu player of the game. HongQ may have started him rolling, but he had quite the performance throughout the rest of the series. That's going to be his first player of the game of the season.
I think the real indicative fight of him being player of the game here was that one exchange in topside jungle, where it looks like it's going to be a big win for NIP. It looks like they're going to turn around the fight. Xiaoxu shows up on the Mbessa. Things just absolutely get obliterated. He was massive in this game with the gold lead he got on the top side and is more than deserving a player of the game.
Absolutely here. They are going to give that one on over. HongQ getting some votes. You'll love to see it. I think that's where mine may have ended up going, but no problem with handing one on over to the top laner when he gets a nice Mbessa game under his belt. With that, we're going to throw it to a quick break before we get into game number 2. First things first, though, I do want to give a shout out to the coffee. If you're interested in supporting LPL English, consider becoming a coffee member. Comes with perks like early access to things like the LPL English podcast, as well as giving you the opportunity to ask questions for any on-site interviews that LPL English does move forward with. A lot of the initial payments are going into upgrading the broadcast, and a huge bulk of it pays on-air talent and creators that support that talent. It's a great opportunity to come and support the broadcast if you love it. For those who already contribute, thank you very much. And if you don't, maybe give it a check out if you can. In the meantime, we are going to throw it to that break, and we will be back for game number 2 before you know it.